Welcome to Scottish Watches Podcast, and let's get into things after we tell you to check the show notes. That's where you find all the links, all the pics, all the tech spec, all the details, thanks to Miziel and the team. We're going to talk about first, Dave.
Well, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about an all-new brand. In fact, this is a brand that I don't think we've ever talked about it. A brand by the name of Block RG, and they've got a new model called the Radical Stealth Tourbillon. If ever there was something trying to make itself big and bold in the world, that is a name that is definitely doing it. Now, who are they? Well, Block RG are an all-new independent watch brand. Probably why we've not talked about them before. And they've got a bit of a vision to create high-end, futuristic-looking watches that really don't resemble anything else on the market. That's a good thing. Well, let's see if they actually have managed to produce something that doesn't resemble anything on the market, because that's a fairly tough call.
And it resembles a suppository, if you look at it.
It resembles something that you put where the sun don't shine, but that's sure. But I mean, I guess that makes it stealthy in a kind of way.
Stealth condoms. She'll never know you're coming.
Anyway, Romas Gimbutas, he's an entrepreneur and he's got a bit of an extensive expertise within the world of watches, and he's kind of brought together a collective of creative people, talented individuals. And for this first design, we've got two people going by the name of Fabrice Goni and Oliver Lou. They are from Edge Design, based in Lausanne in Switzerland. And the two of them have come up with something that's, I would say, a bit extraterrestrial, sci-fi-ish. It's based on planes like the Lockheed F-117 and Nighthawk. That is the stealth fighter, which is, I guess, where it gets its name from. Pretty aggressive, very angular, not quite as faceted as the Nighthawk itself, but pretty cool looking watch, I have to say. Weird sizes as well. It's 46mm by 36mm, so quite tall, quite narrow, I have to say. And you've got lots of faceted box sapphire crystals going on here, quite a lot of open worked parts on the case, even the protectors on the side, which are pretty symmetrical, are open worked and faceted as well. You've got a caliber in here. Well, the tourbillon's in the name, but it's a hand-wind tourbillon. It's skeletonized as well.
Did you guys make this one?
We did not. This one has been developed by a company called Telos. It's a symmetrical design. Up at 12 o'clock, you've got this large open work barrel, and it's got a kind of coaxial power reserve indicator directly on top of the barrel, which is on a sapphire disc. And at 6 o'clock, you've got just as large, a huge big tourbillon there. It's just under 16 millimeters across. So 1 minute tourbillon is running at 4 hertz. Pretty impressive 4-day power reserve on there. The tourbillon itself is fairly light, weighing just under half a gram. It's available in either all titanium or in pink gold. There are only 8 of each being made, but there are some customizations available upon request, which I would like to hope so, because, Ricky, this one is not coming in at pocket money cash. It's €375,000. Cool looking watch. Not convinced I want to spend that much money on it though.
Well, for a price like that, many people might say, stick it up your... But we definitely wouldn't. And the reason we're talking about this brand is it's new, it's funky, it's a different design. Might not be completely in my wheelhouse. I'm looking at it thinking, I'm going to move the suppository idea to the side and maybe call it a highfalutin egg timer, because it's got that kind of shape to it. Yeah, it's very symmetrical. It has got the crown almost inset on one side. You've got the top and the bottom where the wheels are and the tourbillon is. They're almost the same size. Round the back, there's lots of Richard Mille looky-likey stuff in here, but it's different, and that's what we're all about. It doesn't matter the cost. Yeah, okay, this one's what, 350,000, whatever's. That's a lot of cash, but Richard Milles are a lot of cash. Bianchi, slightly less cash, and then you come down. Even looking at this, the intricacies of it reminds me of some of the Blast tourbillons from UN. It's a bit of a considered purchase since it's a brand that's new and fledgling, and hopefully will be around for years to come. It's nice to talk about some things, and starting to show off with something mega expensive the only way is down.
Absolutely, although we're not necessarily going to go down that far. Someone who's not down on things though was John Cena. He's got a bit of a reel on Instagram, and he's got a little bit of things to say about why he has 2 watches on him.
I spotted this. I sent it to Miziel. Miziel said he'd seen it before. I'm not a huge John Cena fan. I don't follow him as much as the children like Miziel do with the WWEs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he had an interesting take on things, and he was on a show, and instead of me trying to burble along and ruin it for everybody, I'll actually include the audio. I think we'll get away with that one, and we'll drop that in just now.
My eye fell upon that. I thought it's a pocket watch.
It is.
That's interesting.
It's broken.
What do you mean it's broken?
I mean, it doesn't tell time. I broke it a long time ago, but I keep it with me. This one tells time. This one tells perspective.
It tells what?
Perspective.
Perspective.
Yes, I keep it with me. It's got engravings on 2 sides. The back is something I used to feel uncomfortable in rooms like this, in front of people. Imagine that. My
I did.
vocation is speaking in front
I
of
did
people.
too. I did too. Early on, I was exhilarated because I thought this is the scariest thing you could do. And then, hey, I can do it. And then it's kind of exciting. Yeah.
I used to think I was not enough. I did not value self. So on the back of this watch, it simply says, comparison is the thief of joy. So I take this, and every time I feel uncomfortable or of low self-worth, I just give it a little reminder, and it reminds me that I am enough and I'm worthy of love. And on the other side, it says memento mori, for when my head gets too big, I need to remember that I'm human and I am above no one. And always remember where I came from and remember those that support me, that I don't do it alone. So I have one side for when I think my ego is too big and one side for when I don't feel enough. And it's a nice little keeper of perspective, not time.
Well, there, it shows that, you've got to get a balance in life, and he finds it through his watch, his little reminder about not to get too big-headed, or not to get too big-headed about not being big-headed, if that's a thing, whatever that is. But yes, he's a guy that many people follow, and he had a couple of interesting things to say. You can also check out the link to that on the show notes, where you should be looking, because Miziel is, of course, putting all of the additional content that we've either forgotten, got wrong, missed out, but he will misspell it, so it makes me feel a bit better about things.
It is his job. It's what he does. It's what I do sometimes when I produce content and things for people. I always include one mistake, and then if they come back and tell me about it, I know they've actually checked properly. I remember back in the day working for a car magazine, there was a guy in the UK who would do all the press releases for JVC Car Audio, and somewhere in amongst it, he would include something absolutely heinous, just to make sure that the reviewer or the person that was reading the press release wasn't just doing a copy and paste. And one of them, it was when touchscreens first came out in cars, and he said that you could use your phallus to change the station on the radio. And people copied and pasted that, and that appeared in print. But anyway, I digress. John Cena, we've talked about him in the show before, because Piers at Pinion Watches down south in England, he's actually created custom timepieces for John to wear. It was one of the Fast and Furious movies. I can't remember which number. Could have been 10, 9 or 8. And he had to make something with a mammoth strap just due to the girth of John Cena's wrist.
Okay, we'll leave it at wrist.
We'll leave it at rest, and we'll move on to Piaget, a brand that we catch up with more often than not when we're over in Geneva at Watches and Wonders. I don't think we had time this year because we were fully stacked and booked for lots of content with other brands, but every year they're super nice to us. We're just village idiots from Scotland, so we're country idiots, but they've got something out that harks back to the past a little bit.
I'm so glad you said country, because when you started that word, I was not entirely sure where you were going with it. But yes,
Did it lag? Did it kind of stall halfway through the word?
part of it. But yes, Piaget, Andy Warhol. Probably heard of both of them. One's a watch company, one's quite a cool artist. Andy Warhol was well known about wearing Piaget timepieces. The black tie gold watch from the 70s, I think it was introduced in 72, was the one that he was probably most famously known for wearing, and it featured a Beta 21 quartz movement, which, to be honest, then made it pretty cool, and definitely makes it pretty cool these days. That is, if the Beta 21 is still working.
Do you know much about that movement? Do you want to refresh my memory?
It was the Swiss's answer to the kind of high accuracy quartz revolution of the time, when they were desperately trying to dig themselves out of the massive hole that they'd dug by not catching on to it early enough.
Was it an Andy Warhol?
Well, Andy Warhol, let's probably not go into that too much. Yes. Moving along, Ricky, moving along. Well, this watch was the inspiration for these modern Piaget Warhols. The original one was launched back in 2015, I believe, and they have kind of over the years introduced a range of dials, some different case materials. But what are we talking about today? We're talking about one with a green meteorite dial. And just like our friends at Formex, they are getting on the coloured meteorite train. Don't know if these are as good as the ones that guys at Formex make. But anyway, moving along, this is an 18-carat white gold. A squircle is how it's been described, because it's neither a square or a circle, but actually it's more rectangular to me, whilst also not being rectangular or round, so no idea what the word for a circular triangle rectangle is. Anyway, moving along.
A sextangle?
A sextangle? Ooh. Let's get 6 sides though, 6 people. Could be fun, 8.08 millimetres, and that is in profile. Could have been inches, that would have been impressive, but it's got this natural crystalline structure of that meteorite stone, and of course it's then been toned up into green, and the green colour is a bit weird because it kind of changes from almost an olive-like military colour into a brighter lime area. You've also got a green alligator strap that kind of tones in well to that dial. It's keeping it all within that monochrome style, and you've got a gold buckle on there. As you would expect from this brand, it's an in-house caliber. It's a 501P1. It is an automatic mechanical movement, so long gone is the quartz that was featured in that original one. 30 meters of water resistance, so it can kind of look at water, not so much go in the water. 40 hours of power reserve. And coming in at, well, a lot less than the watch we started the show with, but it's $61,000, so still in the punchy area. I know another brand that does some very good coloured meteorite dials that you can get for a lot less money. Do you know who they might be, Ricky?
With Formex, and potentially Raj that you work for, disclaimer alert. No, I love this watch. Again, we've included this. It's not super entry-level price point by any stretch of the imagination, but I love the brand. I always try and tease Zach Blast from time and tide, formerly of Scottish Watches. He got his break here, don't you know? Because he's got an amazing watch that he wears. It's rose gold, black, super thin. Can't remember the exact designation, Octoplano or something like that. And he wears it out and about. I love that thing. And as a brand, as I mentioned earlier, they're super good to us. They treat us with respect. Not that we deserve it, but we appreciate it. And this watch here, it looks like a Colosseum, or the stepped arrangement of a pyramid with the blocks as you go up into the centre of it. And you're right, it's a squircle rectangular thing with a bit of a recessed crown on it, very flat case back. But the dial, it's available in lots of different variations. The one that we're looking at today is obviously this toned, dye-coated meteorite where they've extracted the striations of the triangular shapes through the coloration on the top. A little bit like the guys at Formex do, a lot cheaper. But it's a cool looking watch. It's harking back to the past. And a lot of people are reviving things, but they're not reviving the old shit like Tudor, like Panerai have done in the past. This is something else. So yeah, pretty cool. And the whole technology, the beta quartz thing, I think that was an amalgamation with Rolex, I believe Patek and various other people back in the day, as you rightly say, to try and fight off the war coming from the East, because Seiko had brought out the Astron 1969 and they were ahead of the game. They're the ones that were leading the charge. They're the ones that kind of caused the quartz crisis over in Switzerland. Hopefully that won't happen again. But what's happening in the future?
Well, what's happening next? Well, what's happening next is you should have been listening to a recent show where we had our two friendly policemen on from the Metropolitan Police telling all of you about what's been going on in the world of the nefarious watch thievery, but they also give you lots of great advice about how to keep your watches safe. Unfortunately, I missed out because of a few issues that meant our scheduling didn't quite align. That was a show that had many technical issues to get over the line, but we got there, and I will hopefully be joining the guys the next time they're on, because they definitely will be on again.
You'll be joining the guys in court at some point. I know fine well you were avoiding them, and you've avoided them every other time. But no, that is a great episode. We've had lots of feedback. And as much as I said during the recording, there's a lot of repetition. Repetition is good. It's good to know what to do, what not to do. And there's always a remix, there's always a change, there's always new things to look out for. Frauds, fakes, counterfeits, all kinds of schemes and scams that are out there. And again, keeping yourself safe when you're out and about. The main topic this time was, instead of people walking up and mugging you, there's a lot of folks out and about using the bicycles, the motorised vehicles that they can just pick up, use, abuse, drop. It's not registered to anybody. And again, we don't want anybody coming a cropper, especially in summer when it's great weather. People are out enjoying themselves. They've got less clothing on the arms. Watches are on show, and we just don't want you guys to be a victim. But the reason we're mentioning that last show, and that is one you should check out after this show, is because there's been a report about dodgy dealings and certain watches that maybe don't pass muster.
Absolutely. And this is why, if you are looking to buy something pre-owned, or a watch maybe that's not from an official outlet, all of these authentication services that are popping up, eBay famously has rolled theirs out a few months ago, are really well worthwhile. And there's some proof as to why, because there's an online watch dealer by the name of Bezel who's put out some numbers, and they're saying that they're rejecting more than 25% of the watches they inspect. Mostly, of course, it's Rolex. That's probably no surprise because it's one of the biggest traded pre-owned watch brands on the market. But they're saying that they rejected actually 27% of the watches that it has so far inspected in 2025 that are claiming to be Rolex, whether they're Franken watches, whether they're just outright fakes as well. But this authentication, it really is beginning to prove its worth. Obviously, lots of them, we mentioned eBay, Chrono24 do something similar as well. And of course, Rolex themselves have their certified CPO program, which really does give you that peace of mind you want here. But what they're saying is 38% of the watches that they dismissed as not being right were above $10,000. That's a lot of fake watches out there as well. 57% of them were Rolexes. The top 5 though were Rolex, Omega, Cartier, Breitling and Patek Philippe. Probably no great surprise there. But yes, it means that if you are looking to maybe buy something that's been loved and pre-owned, maybe look to make sure you buy it off of someone that you can be absolutely sure you know is authentic.
I prefer the CPO program, the C3PO program. That one's better. But anyway, on to Sega Design, a brand that we've talked about numerous times. We've had a number of their watches over to check out. And each time we can't fathom how they've managed to include such ingenuity, technology, forward-thinking design prowess, and then packaging it all up, and the packaging is fantastic as well, in something that costs hundreds of dollars, up to maybe $1,000 and a bit dollars. And they've done it again. They have got what's called the Blue Planet. It picked up a GPHG, not nomination, but an award a number of years ago. And for good reason. Dave owns one of them. I own the other one of them. I think he's got a white one. I have got a black and gold one. But they've got a special edition that has just been released. Hopefully it's still available because this thing is incredible looking.
Absolutely. So Sega Design, they've this time teamed up with Label Noir, who are, I believe, a Swiss design company. This is the new Blue Planet 2 Black Star Edition as well. They are a brand from China. In fact, a brand where the first ever Chinese watch to win a prize at, as Ricky mentioned, GPHG. And they walked away with that prize for the original version of this watch, which is the one that I own in the natural titanium with the blue earth on there as well. But instead of having that round rotating globe, which is kind of so much been the definer of previous editions, you have now got a black hole dial in the place of it as well. They're using a pretty cool material. It's called Super Black, very similar to Vanta Black, which you may have heard of, which can absorb huge amounts of lights. 99% in the case of the material they're using in this watch as well. But at that kind of peripheral edge of that big vortex display that's on there, you've got some lume-coated star there. That is kind of resisting the pull of this black hole. Pretty cool. It also, though, of course, acts as the time-telling indicator, because if anyone's seen any of these watches, and if you haven't, check out the show notes to see what we're talking about, you've got 2 time-telling discs on the outside, one slower moving, which is the hours, one faster moving, that's a minute, and you've got a little marker, in this case, the little lumed planet, and you effectively take a little line through that dot, and that will tell you the hours and minutes that you're looking for. They are, on paper, pretty big, 46mm in diameter, but by the virtue of having no lugs, it's a kind of integrated lug system. The strap hides in the back of the watch. It definitely doesn't wear as big as the size would indicate, coming in at 15.5mm thick, but it kind of gets away with it because it tapers to a thinner edge at the sides, a bit like a kind of classic drawing of a UFO, if you kind of get what I'm meaning. In the case of this one, it's still a titanium case, but you've got a diamond-like black finishing on it in DLC. Don't have any more information on that, but I do know it's 41 hours of power reserve. Not mega accurate. It's running in the -15 plus 30 category, but price point wise, 1,450 of your UK pounds, just under $2,000 US. This is a cool statement piece watch for not a lot of money that is also featuring some cool materials. You've got titanium in there, and the use of this light absorbing black material is something that you're definitely not going to see in any watch without probably adding at least another 0, if not 2 zeros to the price point. So great looking watch. I love my original one. I know Ricky loves the one he's got. I would absolutely get one of these. In fact, I nearly did, but they sold out at a show I was at about a month ago where they had a few with them and they all disappeared within a couple of hours.
It's a great brand and it offers such an amount on the wrist for such a little amount of outlay. It's phenomenal. The 3 that we've had in so far, can't fault them, really cannot fault them. And picking up that, I think they were the first Chinese brand to pick up an award at Switzerland's Oscars for watches. That's how good these guys are. They've partnered with many people in the past. I think the guys you're talking about here, Label Noir, they have worked with the likes of Maurice Lacroix in the past, producing blacked out, murdered out watches in the Icon series. Very successful, sold out quite quickly, I believe. And this is a surefire hit. The fact it's using a Vanta Black-like material, and there's a number of them. You can actually get aerosol spray paints that are similar to Vanta Black, but nothing is quite the same, just due to the technology. The guys at Moser have obviously used Vanta Black. BMW have used it on a Concept X5, I believe, in the past. The way it works with its nanotube technology and the way that it captures light like a rainforest, and the way that light never quite hits the bottom. This is more a flocking, a paint process, but still fantastic. And the problem you've got with a watch is, as soon as you put a bit of glass or sapphire or something over the top, no matter how much AR coating you put on it, it ruins it. When we saw the Moser watch without the sapphire on the front, it was incredible. One of our best Instagram reels, funnily enough. So there'll be a link in the show notes for that one. But this one here, great stuff. I'm going to get in touch with the guys and see what else they've got coming down the line, because we don't actually get the press releases from them. We have to see them appearing out in the open on their Instagram channel. So we would have prepared a little bit better. So fingers crossed they actually do have some sitting somewhere in a stock room that if you're interested, you can click across and you can pick one up too.
Before we get that tut coming from New York, we should probably get on with the wrist check. I always come second. And Ricky, I think you've got something absolutely fantastic to talk about.
Yes, I've got something borrowed and it's blue. And this is from our friends at Casio G-Shock. They have been fantastic about sending watches to us to check out over the years, and this time around is no different. This is a watch that is in the 6900 series. That's been around for a very long time. It was actually my first G-Shock back in the day, 2017. I picked up their 35th anniversary, I think it was called the Red Out edition, and it's still working. The battery is still working fine on it, and I wear it occasionally because it is a great looking watch. But I've added supplemental 6900 series editions to the flock, and the latest one that's appeared for us to check out is on the wrist today. So this one here, on the surface of it, just looks like a standard G-Shock. Yeah, okay, it's got the roundness of it, it's got the 3 mini subdials, one slightly larger on the right hand side, which is exactly what you'd expect from this series. But this is a fantastic 4 limited edition, one of 4 watches that they've taken, they've made them white, and they've added touches of blue all over the place, just to look a little bit like the outfits, the costumes, the uniforms that the Fantastic Four will be wearing in cinemas pretty much the time you hear this show coming out. The party piece for this one is twofold. Not only has it got I'm going to get back to this in a minute, it's got an interesting lighting arrangement. The part I never noticed, first of all, is that the dial is actually illuminated. It has got lume underneath, so if you're out and about and then you come indoors, the middle part lights up. The second thing, and I don't know if this is new, and this is where Dave's going to help me out because he is the G master, when you press the light button, what I noticed was the light makes the LCD dim. And this is usually telling you that you need to replace the battery on it, but it's a brand new watch, what's going on? But then what I found was, if you tilt the watch slightly, or you're actually in an area where it's dark and you press that, it completely inverts the display. So instead of having the black numerals coming through, the black numerals turn see-through, translucent, and the background turns black. Is this something new, or have they done this before?
They've done inverted displays. Obviously, with a lot of G-Shocks, you can get either the positive or negative display, as some people call it. It's rare that they do this option where it kind of can be changed in the watch. I think there's been 1 or 2 have maybe done this in the past, but that's certainly one of the more unusual iterations that they've done with that on it. But pretty cool. It also means, as you say, when you're in the darkness of the cinema or you're hiding somewhere because the bad guy's trying to get you, you can tell the time without giving your position away.
And it's quite hard to see in the studio, but if I do that thing where if you look down, you get kicked in the balls because I'm doing the kind of O thing with my hand, you can see slight amounts of lume in there. But yeah, this is a great watch, and it is totally Scottish Watches colours. It's white and blue. It's almost the correct shade of blue. But great watch. The whole collection that you can choose from, all the pictures of the limited editions will be in the show notes. And I don't believe they've stacked the price. They haven't mucked around with it. They haven't Ed Sheeran'd the price. Let's put it that way. So great, fantastic watch from the guys at Casio G-Shock. And the last thing is, when you pop it off the wrist and smash it into the desk, on the back, it's got a little hint of blue as well in that shock protection system. So great watch, tons of them available, 4 to choose from, including a white Casio, again with that crazy inverted display technology. Right, Dave, what you got on the wrist?
Well, what have I got? I'm wearing something very slim. I was over in Chicago, we'll talk about that later, but I got to see the Citizen booth where they had a couple of watches we've actually talked about in the previous few shows, and I thought I'm going to get some of my Citizens out. Well, I'm not quite wearing it at the moment, but I have got my Citizen 1 out. And why is it called One, may you ask? Well, it's because it's a solar EcoDrive model and the whole caliber in it is 1mm thick. And can anyone guess what that means? That means that you can end up with a watch that is only 2.98mm in total thickness. And as you can see, if you're checking out the show notes, or maybe even if you're on YouTube, you can see how thin that actually is. It is basically the same thickness as the leather strap that I've got this one mounted to. In the case of this model, this is the AR5004. It's in stainless steel with a Ceramet bezel on it. That's the gold bezel on there. This is a ceramized metal, which is a proprietary material from Citizen. It is a solar dial because it's EcoDrive. So you've got this slightly grained, slightly grey dial with the rose gold markers, but that lets the sun rays through to make sure the battery is charged up. When it's fully charged, it runs for a year, which is pretty good considering the battery cannot be particularly large to fit in this watch. 77 grams is the weight when it comes on its full stainless steel bracelet, but this one is under 50 grams on the leather that I have it on. As I mentioned, only 2.98mm in thickness, and it runs at plus minus 15 seconds per month. So yes, fairly accurate, I have to say. I've got this one mounted on a very fetching bright orange Hermes leather strap because I think it really just suits this watch a T. It's a little bit weird on the bracelet in my opinion because the bracelet's actually thicker than the watch, albeit not by much, but I love it because it's so slim to wear and it's not proven to be fragile to anyone, including myself, to this point. So that's what I'm wearing or not wearing this week.
Interesting you show that watch. Two reasons. One, we did a video way back in the day when we were allowed to meet up. I think it may have been pre-COVID, and it was all about that watch, which is absolutely fantastic. It'll be linked in the show notes. Miz will do his duties perfectly there. And you're showing me the strap, which is from Hermes. And I was watching a video on YouTube. We're going to get to the what we've done stuff later on, but it is pertinent. So I watched a video on YouTube, and it was from the Top Gear channel, current modern day stuff. And it was the guys at Singer Reimagined. They'd been playing around with a couple of Porsches, as they do, and they had involved Hermes in doing the leather work. And the way they do the edges, I don't know, is it a burnishing process, something like that? So instead of me falling over my words and trying to remember what the hell I'm talking about, there will be links in the show notes where you can go and have a look at this because it's a pretty cool car. The guy stutters as much as I do just now, but it's nice to see Hermes doing stuff with car producers, and that is a brilliant watch, one that you should wear more often, Dave. Although it's not quite as thin as some of the thin watches we've seen recently.
No, it's not, but price point wise, it kind of beats them into a tipped hat because if I remember rightly, I think I paid in and around the £2,000 mark, which is a lot of money, it has to be said, for a quartz watch, but for the thinness, I was going to say thickness, but you can't really use that word. It feels inappropriate to say thickness. Its thinness is definitely one of the things that I really love about this watch. It's so thin. It's ridiculous considering so many of the watches that people day to day see out there from this brand are quite often the big fat chunky divers, which are also very cool, but when you put it beside this, it kind of makes me chuckle.
Well, if they are big fat chunky divers, maybe they should be doing a little bit of athletics. And speaking of Japanese watch companies, the guys at Seiko have got something that might foot the bill.
They might indeed. Because yes, staying with the theme of Japanese watchmakers, Seiko have launched a new iteration of the Prospex Solar Speed Timer. This is a watch for the 2025 Tokyo World Athletics Championships, and they've issued this one in a colour called Edo Purple. Now, these watches have been out for a couple of years and they have gone great guns. Everyone was asking for the speed timers to come back. And indeed, they did bring back some more premium mechanical ones, but they also brought back a range of their quartz solar variants, which are, in my opinion, in a much nicer size. This one is the iteration that they are going to celebrate the Athletic Championships. The colour is definitely purple, but it's got a slight transparency to it. Why, might you ask? Well, of course, a bit like that watch I was wearing from Citizen, the dial is the place that it soaks in the sun to keep itself ticking over. The official colour is Edo Muroasuke, and it's one of the signature colours of Tokyo, and it's also the official colour of the 2025 championships. Size-wise, 39mm makes it super wearable. As I mentioned, solar-powered quartz on there as well. To be precise, it's the V192 calibre. Price is super accessible, 650 of your UK pounds, probably in and about the same in your dollars, Swiss francs or euros. It is limited edition, There is quite a few of them though, 6,000 pieces to be precise, so the likelihood is, as long as you don't hang around too long, unlike the Athletics Championships guys, you should be able to get one of these on your wrist.
Well, if you want to time things that are speedy, I'm going to tell you what I've been up to, because it was to do with motorsport, but not exactly time trials, championships, or going around circuits fast, although these vehicles were going pretty nippy. And hot on the heels of our Matt Farah episode, definitely one you should be checking out, details will be in the show notes obviously of that one, I decided to go to Scotland's only bespoke custom drift track. Yes, we have a drift area in Scotland, not for quarter mile, not for circuits, not for anything like that or endurance. This is for going slidey, skiddy, skiddy. And we're not talking about Dave's pants for once. The event I went to is actually called Dory Fest, and when I turned up, I found out it was run by two friends, people, one who I've not seen in about 5 months, one I've not seen in about 15 years. So myself and Simona went along to this super cool event, got to see lots of cars doing crazy stuff. Some people had driven up from down in England all the way to Scotland, some people had come across from Ireland. One guy, one driver, had actually flown all the way from Australia to take part in the spectacle. Reminded me of having lots of fun back in the day in Asda car parks or McDonald's car parks, because what you would do is you would go in, you would take the little trays, and then you'd put your back wheels on the trays, lock up the handbrake, and slide around. I definitely didn't do anything illegal like that back in the day whatsoever when I had a front wheel drive car, but I remember other people did. So yeah, lots of details, pictures will be in the show notes of that. It was crazy in Scotland over the past week. I believe it hit around about 32 degrees in Glasgow. It certainly felt warmer than that, and it felt warmer in the car. It's been glorious, but unfortunately, over the past couple of days, it's reverted back to the norm. Lots of rain, lots of shitty weather, things we're not really keen on, but we are keen on Geneva Watch Days, which is fast approaching. It is just round the corner, just over a month to go. And a lot of people have emailed in to say they're coming across, they want to catch up with us. Where should they go? What should they do? Who should they speak to? So if you're interested, drop us an email. Do not DM us on Instagram. The email address is info@scottishwatches.co.uk. If you are sitting in the email chain, I'm going to process in the next couple of days. So if you're hearing this and you have emailed already, don't worry, we'll get to you shortly.
So what have I been up to? Well, I have been on my travels, as we talked about at the top of the show. I've been over in Chicago at the Wind Up Fair. Well, of course, with that place I work for that we talk about all the time, that being Haraj. Disclosure, David works for Haraj.
How do you define work exactly? People do ask me this.
Yes, we'll go with yes. That's how I define work. Doing stuff. Yeah, we were at the show, but we met lots of people we know. Mike Pearson was there. He was, of course, heading up the whole Christopher Ward gig that is happening over in the United States. He had a great big stand there with lots of the staff over from the UK to support him. Also, of course, the guys from Studio Underdog and many of our other friends were there. Great show, I have to say. I got to look at the Citizen stand. That's why I dragged out my Citizen. I wanted to see that watch we talked about a couple of episodes ago, that anniversary diver that they've got with that crazy little sticky out bit on the side that lets you know the depth you're diving at. And it's a fantastic looking watch in the real world. Unlike one of the watches we also talked about that doesn't have Citizen the dial, but it does say Accutron. We talked about it. I kind of liked it a lot from the pictures and the information. The price, I was okay with it. Ricky was definitely not okay with the price. I saw it in real life. Oh dear, what a disappointment. Sometimes it's not good to see things that you really want to see. I was not taken with the real world iteration of it.
Why not? What was wrong with it?
It just didn't look quite right.
Like Katie Price?
Yes, a bit like Katie Price. It was maybe a bit...
Or Daniela Westbrook?
Well, how about we go with a little bit overdone? Is that a polite way of putting it? That's how I would kind of define this watch. They had lots of other cool stuff going on though. They had all of their collections from Citizen on display, and of course they do make a bit of a weird and wonderful watch, so I did enjoy looking through all of that stuff. Yes, outside of that though, travelling, jet lagged, did get to do a few cool things in a bit of downtime over in Chicago though as well. Visited a few museums.
Did they stop you as you were trying to leave to bring you back to one of the exhibits?
Outside of that, cool city, Chicago. Not really what I was expecting. I went there a long time ago and didn't have great memories of it, but it was immaculately clean. For a big US city, I was amazed by how clean it was. Did kind of put a lot of our cities in Europe a little bit to shame, I have to say. Outside that, nice to see the old L up there as well, those trains rattling about, but by God, I forgot how loud they actually are. Yes, outside that though, not a whole lot. kind of looking forward to trying to chill out for a couple of days. It's rainy, it's cooler here, which is just making me so happy because it was like Scotland before I get back, ridiculously hot and ridiculously muggy, as a Scottish word would go.
I forgot to say, it's actually the 10th anniversary of me not dying coming off a motorbike. So I was riding a bike and then I wasn't riding a bike very quickly because of a car. Might have been my fault, might have been antihistamines that I took by accident. But yeah, 10 years since I didn't die. Got to look forward in life. Got to remember the bad and the good.
And as I say, Ricky, it's not the going fast that kills you, it's the rapid stopping.
It certainly is. And have you watched any good movies when you were on your flights and stuff? Because I watched some real stinkers. I actually need to go back to the cinema after watching F1. And we will talk more about F1 once Dave actually sees the thing. But I watched a couple of movies. One was called Brick or Bricks, and it was terrible. Don't recommend that one. I watched The Craigslist Killer, which was on Netflix or something. Terrible. Wouldn't watch that one. And then I watched another one called Barbarian. Another terrible... Can somebody recommend some good movies? Ancient movies or new movies? I'm open to them all, but have you seen anything good?
Well, I should be able to recommend things you shouldn't watch, but I can't because I did watch many absolutely god-awful movies on the plane. So bad, in fact, that I completely erased immediately what they were, but they were free and they were in front of me. They were so bad, in fact, that on the way back, I actually took my iPad out my bag and watched stuff that I'd downloaded because I just couldn't find anything worthy of a watch. There were a few movies on there that I have seen multiple times that are pretty good, but I just wasn't in the mood to watch things again, especially on a crappy little screen on a plane.
Well, I mean, what size of TV are we talking about? Are we talking about the size of a laptop screen, a tablet screen, a phone screen? Are we talking about a TV on the wrist, maybe?
Oh, how very fortuitous of you to say that. Well, yes, we should roll on to another watch before we just blabber on about nonsense that we've been up to. And part of the Swatch Group, one of their brands that doesn't get talked about so much and kind of floats about at the entry level, that being Mido. They've got a multi-fort TV, a big date model out, and it's pretty punchy in colour, a bit of black in there, a lot of blue and punchy orange as well. The multi-fort line or kind of model range goes back way back to the 1930s, but the TV collection specifically is very much all about the 1970s, kicking off in 1973, around the same time as I popped out of something into the world as well.
Did this come out before or after the Nautilus?
Well, that's a good point, Ricky, because indeed this did come out, I think, before quite a lot of those very famous 1970s watches that everyone accuses everyone else of copying, but 73 indeed is when this was introduced. The current collection is over 2 sizes and a whole plethora of colours for the cases and dials. But let's talk about this new one that we're actually introducing. It's the larger of the 2 sizes. It's 39mm by 40mm. Definitely TV shaped. It's got the big date in there and you've got a black PVD coating on the case. 100 metres of water resistance, so it should be okay for a little dipple into the water. But you've got something new colour-wise for this range of watches, a petrol blue colourway on it. You've got all those kind of facets and grooves on the dial, and you've got some black diamond cut and faceted hands. But where it gets interesting is the hour indices, the lume colour on the hands are all in a punchy, bright orange. The calibre in there, well, it's a Mido Calibrate. I'll give you a guess as to what that's based on. Yes, it's Swatch Group's ETA C07. That is, of course, in many, many watches. They usually have an 80 in the name. It kind of gives it away, but it's used across a whole plethora of models and brands within the Swatch Group. Why is it good? Well, it is decent. Anti-magnetic Nivacron hairspring, runs at 21,600 VPH. It's got an 80-hour power reserve. Surprise, surprise by the name. The watch itself comes either on a stainless steel bracelet with H-links, or you've got a contrasting blue with orange stitched rubber strap on there. And price point, again, pretty attainable, €1,350. So if you're looking for something maybe that also looks like that other German brand that's also owned by Swatch that's much more expensive that has TV-shaped watches, this could be your answer.
This is my guilty pleasure watch when I come through airports, especially Geneva, because they've always got some iteration of it, and they've always got an orange one, not like this one, this is new, but they've got other ones, and they've done TV variations over the years, and they like to play around with it, a little bit like Swatch and Casio and G-Shock. They had one where it was like a TV test pattern. It might even have been a Time and Tide limited edition a year or two ago. And they're always super cool, and they've got the big date, so instead of just the normal date arrangement, it actually is massive and it changes individually. Yeah, it looks very Nautilesque. It is a pretty cool brand. It's from, as you say, it's the little brother to Glacier Original within the Swatch Group. And I don't know why people don't talk about these watches more. I don't know why people don't buy them. They're fairly inexpensive. They sit there along with maybe Longines, Certina, different brands like that, Hamilton. They all cluster around about the same place. Some of these get a lot more airtime than others. Yeah, I really like the look of this one. But that is us at the end of a show. Apart from we have got one email that I did manage to move into the run sheet for today's show, and it's from a good friend that's been listening for a long, long time. He is a bit of a poet, would you know it? And he's written various different lyrics and rhymes over the past few years, sent them across to us. We're not very good at relaying them to you, so we're going to include the text, the lyrics, in the show notes, so you can actually go and have a read of that and play it in your mind. But Dave, do you want to give us the top lines?
Hi gents, still loving the podcast, which makes a long commute a joy twice a week. I really enjoyed this week's interview with Johnny McElaren, especially as I attended the International Festival of Time in Waterford, Ireland. He's created something really special there, so much so it was my third time. The lineup was impressive, including a couple of recent guests, Patrick Sorgeson and Rob Nuds. I was compelled to write the following poem and the attendees' impressions whilst I was there, which gives a little flavour of the event. I've also some photographs of what was there if you're interested. We've got lots of stuff. There is a poem. We will put it in the show notes because we will be reading this for a good 10 minutes if we have to read through all of it, but it's definitely worth casting your eyes over and mulling it over in your head.
Big, massive shout out to Mike for getting in touch again. I met him. It wasn't Watchmakers Day this year down south because I missed that one because I did a wedding or something like that. But last year, he came up to see us after we'd included some of his previous content on the show. Brilliant guy. It's great to meet listeners, viewers, people that follow us on Instagram, and the emails that we're starting to get through from people getting ready for Geneva Watch Days and Dubai Watch Week further on in the year is fantastic. And if you're coming to Scotland, there was somebody even emailed and said they were coming to Scotland, and I got the email just as I was coming back. Don't know if they got it in time, but they were asking where to go, what to do when they were visiting Glasgow. So yeah, definitely drop us an email, never DM us. There are good reasons for that. There's too many bots, too much spam, too many fake watches for sale on Instagram. Drop us an email, info@scottishwatches.co.uk. And if people have got time, what's in the back catalogue?
Indeed, well, the back catalogue, there's been a couple of cracking shows recently. The Mont Blanc live show, we were co-hosts. Co-host is probably a bit of a stretch. We had Simon, who was presenting at Watches and Wonders to the global audience that couldn't make it there, but we were there.
We were hecklers, Dave. Hecklers, that's what we were.
Probably more accurate. Yeah, we'll go with heckling. But yeah, such a great response to that show that we're going to, of course, get Simon back onto the show. Arcanaut, that brand that has the badger involved, that devious guy who gets in and about it with materials like Fordite. You've also got Rob Nuds at that brand. He was also talking all about what they've been up to, what they're planning on, and how he's just such a nice guy. Formex, well, we've talked about Formex already. If you're after amazing value watches, talking of Formex, I saw a couple of the guys from Formex over at Chicago. I picked up a new strap for my Scottish Watches edition because they now have a blue kind of woven Snoopy style strap for the watch, which looks excellent against that blue dial. Previously, they didn't do it in blue, but they do now. So if you have a Scottish Watches issue and you fancy it on a strap, check out their website for the blue edition. And Dubai Watch Week, slowly but very quickly catching up with us. It won't be long until that show kicks off. It's all new, it's bigger, it's just going to be huge this year. So listen to that to find out what it's about. And if you are interested, you should probably think about getting tickets booked. There are tons of more shows, loads more. Check out the back catalogue. You can find them all on the website or, of course, on your favourite podcast spreader of news.
Spreading the good news, that's what we do here. And obviously the police were on, a great episode to check out. Dave couldn't make it, he was caught in meetings for that one, so he tells us. At least that's what his lawyer told him to tell us. Meetings, yes. And the other one is obviously Matt Farah, the Smoking Tar podcast guy. It's been on the show once before, telling it like it is, which is exactly the way we like it round here. And also Wes from Nodus. And Ted, who is a super fan, was involved as well. He asked a couple of great questions. Matt appreciated it, one to check out. And that is it. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you again soon.